Most recently, before that, at Stevens Institute in Hoboken, New Jersey, where I was the dean of the business school. I also worked at AT&T and Bell Laboratories for 23 some odd years. So tonight, this workshop for all of you is the answer to the question, I have an idea for a start. Where do I start? Right? So I want to give you, if you think you have an idea for something that can have some impact, something that can provide value to other people, you have an idea that's been burning with you, you see a better way to do something, and you think doing a startup company, whether it's a social or a commercial ventures, you're in the right place. We're going to go through 4 modules and give you the very basic minimum concepts. So this is the stuff that you should do first. It's the stuff that is the cheapest to do. So it's a great place to start. You don't have to spend a lot of money on prototypes or hiring people or marketing or websites. And I will give you lots and lots of references, lots and lots of documents and books. And in fact, anybody who asks a good question will get a book or maybe a T-shirt. So there's an incentive to participating here. The slides will all be posted by tomorrow on our website. It's newventure.gwu.edu. So do not feel like you have to copy anything down or write this stuff down. It'll all be available before you go to bed tonight, probably, but first thing in the morning for sure. Okay. So 4 modules. We're going to talk about 4 things today. The first thing is problem solution fit. So the basic concept here is you find a problem and you have a solution for it. That's pretty simple, straightforward, right? We all think we have that. It's not as easy as it sounds. And we'll talk about how to do that. Over the last 5 to 8 years, a body of knowledge has emerged on how to go about doing that, how to go about testing that idea to see if you really understand the problem, and testing the solution to see if you really have a solution. Okay? And I'll give you a hint. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. So if you come to me and say, Lex, what do you think of this idea? It's a great idea. Doesn't matter what I think. What matters is, you tell me, whose opinion matters? Customers, right? We're going to talk about that, right? And I'm going to talk about that method for doing it. It's called the Lean Startup. It's a way of describing your business in a very simple, straightforward way, and in a way that's testable, that you can go out and find out if what you believe to be true is really true. We'll talk about that in the second module. There are 2 key elements of the Lean Startup: business models and the business model canvas. So this is the one tool I'm going to teach you today. Today is the business model canvas, and I want you to be able to think about that and how you would apply it to your business. And then finally, we're going to talk about customer discovery. This is a method, a way of talking to customers, a way of getting the information out of them about themselves and their problems and your solution in a way that information is really useful to you. A lot of the ways that you might go about doing that are not useful. So if you ask your mother, do you like this idea I have for a startup? What's she going to say? Yes. It's brilliant. My child is brilliant. The startup is brilliant. Is that useful information? We love Mom, but it's not useful information, right? Now, there are some people you ask, what do you think of my idea? And they'll tell you it stinks. You could never do this. You're too weak, you're too lazy, you're too stupid. This is way beyond you. That's also not useful. It's not useful. Some people are just negative. And so you want to ask the questions in a way that you get useful information. You don't want them to lie to you and tell you it's great when it's not. You don't want to have them lie to you and tell you it's stupid when it's not. Right? Okay. So here we go. Everything is at newventure.gwu.edu. That's the one website you need, newventure.gwu.edu. Okay? All right. Let's begin. Problem solution fit. Starts with an exercise, pen and pencil. Everybody's got to write. Write down the name of the product or service that is the basis of your idea. And if you don't have one, do Google or do iTunes or something. That's not nearly as useful as one that you have some passion about. Just write down. I have an app that helps connect people who want to share items in the dormitory. That's a good one. All right? Next thing, who are the customers who are going to benefit from this? the users, who are the folks who are going to get the benefit of having your product or service, and then write down specifically what the value is that they get out of that. Why do they care? Why would they reach into their pocket and give you their hard-earned money in return for your product or service? If it's a social venture, who are the beneficiaries? What is the benefit they're getting? And for social ventures, of course, you have to also think about the funders. Right? So if your venture idea is a nonprofit, what's the benefit that you provide that some funder might be willing to pay for? Everybody got the exercise? 3 things: product or service, who are the customers, what's the benefit? Take 5 minutes, write it down. Don't agonize over this, do it quick. All right, I see a few folks still writing. All right, who wants to volunteer? Somebody want to share their idea? Product or service? Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry, hang on. This is the microphone, believe it or not.
Really?
Talk into that.
So, I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, get closer to it, that box thing. Is it on?
It's not, no, the actual microphone is on.
I'm really loud. I can just.
Confirming the battery there.
I appreciate that, but we want to record it, so we need.
Just to get some video better.
There you go. Perfect. So, the idea I have is a lot of people suffer with chronic diseases in this world, and there's no motivational speaker or consultant that is specific to people who suffer chronic diseases. And the people that will benefit from the service that I'll provide are people who suffer chronic diseases, and what they'll most likely get is the tools and techniques I used to be the most optimal person I am, because I did suffer chronic disease and my doctors never thought I would ever get through it, and so I have a technique and I need to show it to the world.
Once more, as crisp as you can do it. The product or service is
a chronic disease consultant.
A consulting service.
Yes.
For customers.
For customers who suffer chronic diseases.
And the benefit is?
They will have the most optimal life with a chronic disease.
So you're going to help them
yes.
recover from those diseases.
Yes.
Okay, great. Everybody got that? Makes sense? Straightforward? All right. You get a T-shirt.
Thank you. I needed one.
Who else? Yes, sir. Go ahead. Get the box.
I'm a whole animal butcher looking to open my own butcher shop eventually. So my product is pasture-raised meats sourced from and butchered and sold in Fairfax County. My customer is a conscientious consumer in Fairfax County, and the benefits are local, sustainable quality meats, the craft of the butchery, a high-quality product, and also the exclusivity of the fact that there's not a lot of room to pasture animals in Fairfax County.
Okay, it's good. Everybody got that? Press you on it a little bit. Tell me, you're going to open a butcher shop with organic, healthy meats?
Even beyond that, but yeah.
And the customers are who?
The customers are people that are concerned with the quality of the sourcing of their meats, both for conscientious and humane reasons, but also for the nutritional and safety value of it.
So, first lesson for everyone, you want to try to push harder on defining those customers. So think about them in terms of age, demographics, where they live, what they hang out with, how much they earn.
Upper middle class, usually a lot of young mothers, and then retirees that have the time to be cooking more.
Good, excellent. And the value is?
Higher quality product, safer product, traceability of sourcing.
Okay.
So overall safety.
This is a great example. Again, so when you're talking about value, the closer you can get to dollars and cents, the better. Not always possible. So
luxury products.
In the case of the people with chronic illnesses, helping them to get over their illness faster, Get that completely, right? People will pay for that. In your case, quality meats, tell me what you mean by quality and what is it that people will actually spend money for versus the Safeway or the, the
Yeah, so the
H-E-B.
motivations are somewhat myriad because you have more of the mothers are looking for something that isn't coming out of a factory farm. The risk of E. coli is dramatically less. The risk of salmonella with a pastured chicken is dramatically less.
Okay.
As far as foodies and people that are looking for more of a luxury product, it's a matter of the depth of flavor from a pastured animal is just way better.
Got it. Okay. Everybody okay with this? Get it? Questions? All right, one more. Ma'am. You can throw that thing. That's the beauty of it. Good catch. Good catch.
My name is Rachel.
Susana.
The service is an app to allow international students to accelerate their knowledge of American culture. Our customers are the 1 million international students in North America today, specifically the ones from Asia. And our value is to make them feel better about coming and possibly staying long-term in the United States.
Okay. Everybody got this? It's an app for international students, teach them about America, to make them feel better about being students here. Everybody got that? Let me press you the same way. You said 1 million students. That's good. Nice big market, like a big market, right? Can you narrow it all? Is it every international student?
So the top source countries for international students are China, Korea, India. India, usually they already speak English. So that doesn't mean that they have nothing to learn, but the top source would be China and Korea.
Okay. So so what she has done is she's now segmented the market again, right? She's picked a subset of that, which is a better, more likely target for her, right? She wants to start with students who speak English. That's going to make it easier, right? But she's starting at also big identifiable segments, right? Students from India are easier to find, easier to meet. Same way with students from China. Can you narrow it any further? Will they be engineers or will they be students in the arts? Will they be rich or poor? Will they be students at state universities or students at small liberal arts colleges? You don't know, and I don't know either. But what I'm trying to get you to think about as precisely as you can about those people who are going to be your customers, right? And then finally, you talked about value. The value is they would feel better about being students in the U.S. So I pushed these two folks to try to get as close as they could to dollars and cents, right? Having said that, having a product where the value is making people feel good about themselves is huge. And it's very hard to quantify, right? So I like to get to dollars and cents. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes the value that's the most important to them is this intangible thing about how do you feel about yourself, right? Now, I think you have other elements of value as well, right? They'll acculturate faster. They'll be better students. There are other things you want to think about.
They'll be more comfortable.
Absolutely. Now, let me tell you one more thing, just on this notion of value and what makes value. Does anybody have Beats headphones? Are they the best headphones on the market?
No.
How much do they cost?
$300.
$300. If you looked at the profile of the audio signal that goes into them, are they technically the best earphones? Not even close. They're not even close, not even in the top 10. Why do people pay $300 for Beats headphones? Dr. Dre uses them. It's just the same kind. You are hip. In fact, I often think I could threaten Dr. Dre by saying, I will start wearing Beats headphones, and then everybody will know that they're not hip at all, and your whole market will go away, right? Because I'm the least hip person in the world. But they have a cachet that is much beyond what's in the earphones, right? It's not the technical quality of the earphones. It's not the way they're constructed. It's that they have a brand name and they signal to people that you are hip and with it, right? That's value. That is value. That's why people reach into their pocket to buy those headphones. So finding that value is the key. All right, hang on to those three ideas. Who else? I didn't give you a T-shirt. I didn't pick out, oh, I'll trade you. You can swap T-shirts for sizes later. I don't know which size they are. And it's probably better that I don't, right? Okay, so what you have done in this exercise right now, you have laid out the three elements that are most important and the things you want to start with. What is your product or service? In the vernacular, who are your key customer segments, right? So we talked about the people who are going to use and benefit from your product. We're going to call them from now on your customer segments. And we talked about the value that you provide. This is the second key concept, that what is your value proposition, right? So from now on, when you want to talk startup, you want to talk lean, you want to talk business, and you want people to know that you are hip. This is kind of the Dr. Dre of entrepreneurship. You're going to talk about your key customer segments and your value proposition. Everybody got it? Questions, comments? All right, let's press on. Oh, I don't want to give away the answer. These are the foundation. All right, another quiz question. Okay, what is the single most common yes, ma'am? You gonna answer the question? Go. Well, you get a T-shirt even before we start. Whoa! What's the single most common reason why startups fail? They fail for lots and lots of reasons, and frankly, most of them fail. Right? Say again? Bad execution. No, I'm doing a bad job here. Are you ready? Whoa!
Bad execution. Great idea, but bad execution.
Bad execution is definitely on the list. It is not number one. Who else? Toss that box to somebody.
Here.
Who wants that box?
Failure to understand what your customer wants, or something along the lines of not providing your service to your customer.
Yes. Who else? Anybody else want to throw out another idea?
Long-term sustainability, that is something nobody thinks about. They always focus on the short-term goals. That
Too short-term
it'll work
focus?
for 8-10 months, and then they forget that the business has to sustain.
Also on the list, not number one. Last one. Nice catch.
Lack of planning and or knowing your market for your product.
Yes, lack of planning is on the list. The top item on the list by far is no market need. They build something that nobody wants. Right? You know, Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. That's a story. That doesn't work in the real world. Entrepreneurs fall in love with their idea, and then they jump in and start to build it. They hire programmers, they hire salespeople, they build up their product. And then what they discover is nobody wants it. This is important. This is an important concept. What you want to do first is find out that you have a product that somebody wants. Now here's the good news. That's the cheapest thing to do. You don't have to have a product. You don't have to have a prototype. You just have to get out and talk to people and talk to those people in that current customer segment and make sure you understand the value proposition from their perspective. And once you got that nailed down, then you can move forward. And you've avoided the first problem. You might not avoid the second one, run out of cash, not the right team, right? Poor product. There's lots of other reasons, so this is not the solution. But don't mess up on the first one. So, to create a successful startup, you need a well-defined group of customers, a product or service that solves a problem, satisfies a need, or fulfills a desire they have. You think you have that?
Oh yeah.
Good. Then let's go on. All right, again, can you identify the problem and the need? Do you have a solution? And that's what's called product market fit, right? That's the basic customer concept. Now, let me show you some books. All right. This book, Value Proposition Design. This is a really good book to work on what it is you actually are providing value for. And there's something called the Value Proposition Canvas. We don't have time to go into this tonight, but one of the things you want to look up, and you can find it at Strategizer. Do we see Strategizer on here somewhere? Anyway, this is a great way to think through what is the gain you're providing for the customer, what's the pain you're solving, or what job you're doing for them. There's lots of ways to think about this. This book has lots of lists of possible benefits that you're providing. It's a great way to start, okay? Some good reading. Mark Andreessen, the venture capitalist, has a nice article at stanford.edu. Sean Ellis. You know, Sean Ellis is, and then Ali Callie Albright has three nice articles if you want to follow up on this. All right, now let's shift and talk about how do you do this, right? How do we do this? We got an idea. The next book I want to tell you about is the Startup Owner's Manual. If there's only one book you buy, this is the right one to buy. It's expensive. It's more of a reference book. It's not something you read all the way through. Plenty of copies in the library. This is really the Bible for the lean startup approach. So this is the single best textbook for what you're doing. Its main findings are captured in this Harvard Business Review article from May of 2013 by Steve Blank. Steve Blank is the leading champion of the lean startup method. And he talks about how thinking has changed over the last decade on how one goes about doing a startup. So these are things I recommend. Finally, if you like video, if you like online courses, Steve has a course at udacity.com. It's a series of very short videos. You can watch 2, you can watch 10, you can watch 100. There are a lot of them, but they walk you through all the steps that we're going to talk about tonight. This is a very good resource for really understanding these concepts. Now, why is it called the lean startup? What's so lean about it? Well, you are building your startup among uncertainty and incomplete information. So what you're going to find as you get into your startup is there is so much you don't know. Right? This is not engineering. It's certainly not science. Right? There are just too many variables out there. And so you want to, you're always going to be troubled by not knowing as much as you'd like to know. You're also going to be severely resource limited, right? Very hard to get money up front for this kind of activity because it's so risky. You're likely to crash and burn. You're more likely to crash and burn than to succeed. The good news is you can do this with the cheapest and most important stuff, customer development and testing your business model, you can do very cheaply, and we'll talk about that. All right. Now, here's the main concepts, the keys to lean startup. One is defining your business model, validating it with customers, and that's the next two things we're going to talk about. So, quiz question, what is a startup? Definition, I'm looking for a dictionary definition. What is a startup? New business venture. Oh, no, look at that, look at that. It is a new business venture. It's much more than that. What else? But you get a t-shirt for that anyway. What else? Well, it's not just a little company. Right? So for years, people thought that big companies are little companies. Startups are just little companies. You start off small. Yes, sir. It is a new solution to a problem, but that's not enough. But good. What else? Ma'am?
It's an innovative way of solving an issue that exists as well.
It is. Necessary but not sufficient. Last try.
It's like building a new company, so it's not a company yet, it's just the beginning of it, so it's like it's the start of a new company. So you're going to proceed to build a company, but it's like just the beginning. Then we have a company on us.
Hold that thought. So what she's saying is that it's the beginning of a new company. It's the start of a new company. That is correct, but it's limited in a couple of ways, and let me show you how that is. So here's what it really is. It's a temporary organization. So it's a group of people who are together now but won't be together in this form for long. Guaranteed to change. It's a temporary organization that is searching for a business model. We'll talk about what a business model is, but it's a searching organization, searching for a business model, and not just any business model, but one that is profitable, sustainable, and scalable. All right? Temporary searching. You with me? What is a business model? Business model is just the collection of interrelated elements that form a business, right? It's a way of describing a business. It's mostly about what kind of money comes in, what kind of money goes out, what are the key activities. And I'll show you how to describe a business model. But the point is, you as young, aspiring entrepreneurs who are starting out with a company, You are looking for that business model. Here's the point I want to make to you, though, most important. It's not a business at all. Yes, it's the beginning of a business, you're right. But it's not the business that you're going to implement, it's the search for that business. You've got to think about yourself as explorers, as researchers, who are people who are trying to gather knowledge, understanding that market, understanding the customers, understanding their needs, and building a business model that meets their needs in a profitable way. You're searching for that. You're not building the business, not yet. Are you with me? That's a huge distinction. And that's why you don't go out and hire a sales force. That's why you don't spend a lot of money on building things right now until that search is very far along. Okay? All right. So, business model is a concept, right? It's a way of thinking about a business. It's not concrete. It's not a business, right? It's often asked the question, how does this venture make money, right? When you start to pitch your idea to people, very soon on the question is going to be, how do you make money? Or if it's a social venture or nonprofit, how do you sustain this venture? How do you bring in enough money to pay the bills? How are you going to do that? That's what the business model asks about. Here's the deal. Existing companies execute a business model. Startups are searching for one, right? Once you find that business model, you flip over, and then you become a company and you start executing that business model. You build that business model. That's the difference between a business and a startup. Startups are searching for the business model. Companies are executing their business model. Yes, sir?
So if startups starts executing business model,
Hang on, I got to give you the catch box. I'm sorry. Ready? Whoa. Nice catch.
Hi, my name's Juan. So if a startup starts executing a business model and generating a revenue, it's not a startup anymore, but it's more like a business.
Good point. I think I made it sound like that the barrier was absolutely clean, 0, 1 day you're a startup, 1 day you're a business. In fact, it's a continuum, right? Every business is trying to revitalize its business model, is always looking to change and update, right? So you never get done with searching for a business model. So it's a continuum. You're exactly right. It's an important, good point.
Thank you.
Yep. Sure. All right, you want to throw that back at me? Go ahead. I dare you. Beautiful. All right, Redskins could use you. All right. So here's the book that describes business models. If you I only need 2 books, this is the second one. All right. It's by a guy named Osterwalder, Alexander Osterwalder. It is the current state of practice, state of the art for describing a business model. It uses something called the business model canvas. Right. So let's take a few minutes and we'll describe the elements of the business model canvas. And then I'm going to ask you to take a few minutes and write down, as best you can, a business model canvas for your business idea. Now, here's the good news. The 2 most important elements are customer segments and value propositions. Right? So you've all already taken a shot at writing down those, right? You know what your product and service is. The 2 things you have to know, they're foundation, they're fundamental, they are the first place you start. You shouldn't go very far until you've really got those pinned down. Who are the customers you're going to serve, and what's the value you provide to them? Now, customers are people. So if you say my customers are big universities, you don't really understand your customers. If you say my customer is the head of the counseling center at a major university, then I know who that person is, right? It's got to be a human being that you can find. And the value proposition comes in a lot of flavors, right? Right? What is the value? What's the problem you're solving for them? And again, don't be afraid to go to intangible things. It's much better if you can find dollars and cents. And of course, time is money, right? So if you're saving them time, you're saving them money, you're making them look good, you're removing risk, you're making life easier for them somehow, you're making them look good in front of their boss. All those things are elements of a good value proposition, right? But knowing those 2 things is really the key. And you've already started on that. Now, the next thing you need to know is channels. Right? Channels is how you touch customers on a daily basis, whether it's selling to them repeatedly or delivering product or doing maintenance. How do you interact with customers on a regular basis? Oops, come on. Customer relations is what you probably would recognize most as marketing. Is how do you get, keep, and grow customers, right? How do you find them in the first place? How do you get them to come in and use your product? And then once they're customers, how do you keep them, right? It's generally cheaper to keep a customer and to sell them more than it is to acquire a new one, right? These things on the right side of the chart are all the customer-facing elements, and they allow you to understand your revenue models, right? How does money come into the venture? Yeah? On the other side are all the operational things. Who are the key partners? Are there people you have to have partnerships with to make your company work? Typically that's suppliers, raw materials, sometimes it's intellectual property. But it might be landlords, it might be companies that you partner with to sell together, for example, right? Who is it outside of your venture that you have to have a relationship with? You also know your key resources. And again, that might be intellectual property. It might be geographic location, right? If you want to start a Walmart, then you better have a location in a high density area with lots of foot traffic, right? It may be often it's human resources, right? There are people you need. You need web developers. Maybe you need marketing people. Maybe you need people who know how to butcher a cow, right? I mean, there's certain key resources that you need. It's often people. Sometimes it's capital, right? If you're in the business of buying and selling cars, you need a good relationship with your bank, right? Because you're going to borrow money to buy those cars, and you're going to pay it back when you sell the cars at a higher price, right? And then key activities. What are the things that your company has to do really well to be successful? Small number of things that you have to do really well, right? So in your case, you have to be, your consulting skills have to be superb, right? Your folks have to be very knowledgeable about chronic diseases in general, and they have to have consulting skills. They have to have people skills, right? All right, you get the idea? Those elements on the operational side allow you to decide your cost elements, right? What are the things the major things that are going to cost you money that the company is going to spend on, right? So in these 9 blocks, you have a picture of your company. We call that a business model on the business model canvas, right? You want to fill that out quickly. You want to do it with just bullets, short items, not writing a book. And here's some good resources. Two very good videos. One only 3 minutes, one 20-minute video, 21-minute video from Osterwalder. You want to dig in more on this, I recommend both of these videos. The Udacity course that I talked about is also structured around the business model canvas, another good place to go. All right, so now you're actually ready to get started. So let's take a few minutes and fill out the business model canvas. You already have 2 of the elements, all of your 2 elements filled out, right? Add the rest. Do it really quickly. Just write it down top of your head. Please don't agonize over this. Bullet items are good. Best of your ability. Spend most of your time getting the customer segments and the value proposition right. Those are the most important. And I'll go back and show you the template, right? So, write something down in each of those 9 categories. I can tell by the expression on your face you're working too hard at this. Just write something down. Violate the paper. Don't be afraid. All right, has everybody got something in each of the 9 boxes? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This is just a classroom exercise, not life and death. Write something down. Come on. Channels is sales channels, maintenance channels, distribution channels. So if you have a physical product, how do you get it to them? For yours, it's easy, right? You've got a storefront. But if you decide you want to sell things over the web or you want to go national, you get the idea. Yeah? Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I can't hear you, and I can't throw this thing that far. No, I want to get you on. This is a lateral. You have to pass this. This is the hook and ladder. Here we go. You ready?
Sorry. It's a microphone.
Just talking.
What might channels look like if you're a data-driven app? So if you're the kind of app that collects data from users and sells it to industry, essentially.
How do you sell it to industry?
That's a great question.
Do you call on them?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so you have a sales force that is your sales channel. Your distribution is going to be over the web, right? You're just going to email them stuff, or so for you it's easy. It's web distribution. Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Now we need another volunteer. See, the first 3 got off light because they just had easy questions. We need somebody new to tell us about their business model canvas. You ready? All right. Here, you got to hold the box here. I'll deliver it.
Should I give my name or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My name is Samira. So my business model is giving specific advice to business managers who need help in human resources, who need help in making sure the teams work more efficiently, and most often who find that their employees are stuck and not able to find solutions to problems that the manager wants done quickly.
So let me interrupt you. It's a product?
So it's a consulting product, basically.
Consulting, a service or a product? People deliver it?
No, service, sorry. Yeah, service. It's a consulting service, and the customer segment is business owners who is...
So business owners, so yeah. I got to push you on segmentation. All business owners?
No. Business owners...
big companies or small companies?
It would have to be, obviously, bigger companies, because the service is aimed at helping business owners with a certain number of employees. And what the service is aimed at doing is kind of making sure that those employees are able to work together efficiently and that everyone's doing what they're best capable of doing.
Okay, so let me help you here. So your customer segment is who in the company? It can't be a company, it's got to be a person.
Who in the company? The manager. The manager would tell me.
So senior manager, or maybe human resources manager?
Possibly the human resources manager.
Okay, and it's okay to have a couple, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's probably not in every company, so you want to think about the size of the company is going to matter here. Is it maybe more than 50 employees, less than 1,000 employees? Think about that. Okay. Now, next is value proposition. Tell me what the value is to these senior managers of your service.
The value is that they would be able to get each goal or each new thing that they set out to do done much more quickly, and that they know how to next time they come up in a rut, for example, they know, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get so and so to approach the problem in this way. I'm gonna get these guys, the web developer guys, to make sure that they do this next time. Like, kind of equip them so that they're able to do it themselves next time.
So you're in a good space here. Push this to the language of business. It's going to save them time. It's going to save them money. It's going to increase revenue. It's going to reduce revenue. It's going to make employees more productive. Those are the kind of things that business people care about. Those are the elements of value for them, and those are quantifiable, right?
Okay.
Because if it's going to save them an hour a week for every employee, then that's whatever the average wage is times the number of employees times the number of weeks in a year, right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do channels. How do you distribute your product?
Online, mainly through places like LinkedIn, places where the kinds of people I'm trying to help would find.
Okay, so let me, again, I'm going to interrupt you. Thank you for being the guinea pig. Channels is how you distribute it, and your answer is very simple, online.
Okay.
Right? Next one is customer relations, which is how do you find customers in the first place? And I heard you say LinkedIn. That's a very good way to find customers. How else will you find your customers?
Maybe by posting what your service is on.
Sure. So web ads, right?
Web ads.
Search engine optimization, right? You might go to conferences. There are probably magazines that these people read, right? There are clubs and organizations they belong to. There are websites that they like to visit, right? Knowing all those things will help you to target your efforts to attract them in the first place. Yeah. Okay. And then revenue. How are you going to monetize this? Who pays you?
The organization, the manager.
Yeah, the company's you're going to sell this as a service to the company. You might sell it as a subscription basis. You might sell it by the number of seats that the company uses, the number of employees that are engaged. You might scale it to the size of the company. You might give them a software license. You might allow them to use it for a month, and then if they want to renew, they can. You might sell it to them outright with periodic updates. Lots of ways to do this, but you're going to rent, license, or sell your software.
Okay.
Yep, straightforward. Yeah. Okay. Any key partners? Who develops the content? Who develops the material that you use to consult? Are you going to do it yourself?
Well, I have to be honest. Even though I'm the one who knows the best what exactly is I want to offer, I might not be the best web designer or even content writer. So people who are really good at marketing, I suppose, they would be key partners.
Great. So you listed a whole bunch of things that are either key partners or key resources, right? And the difference is, are they inside your company or outside? So if you're going to hire people to do the marketing and do the web design, then they are key resources, right?
Okay.
If you're going to, it's because they're in your company. If you're going to go outside and hire some company to be your web developer or some other company to be your designer, then they would be key partners because they're outside the company. That's the only distinction. Okay. Yes? Yeah? Everybody got that distinction? And then finally, key activities. What are the things you have to do really well to be successful?
I have to pinpoint and identify the problems really well with that the manager is having in order to find the solution, because I need to kind of be able to decipher through and analyze through the issues that they're telling me and conveying to me in order to find them the right solution. They might not even think that was the right solution.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So key to your success is you've got to be very good at identifying these problems and treating them, right? You've got to be very good at that aspect of your job. You probably also are going to need people who can sell into human resources or into big companies. It's a specialized skill to get into those companies, to get your foot in the door and sell them the kind of services that you want. So that's probably another key resource that you would have to have in your company.
Okay.
But I think you have it exactly right. And then finally, what are the key elements of cost?
They would be mainly, to begin with, it would be just the exposure, like the ads, the website.
Website
making
for
it
sure.
look professional.
Developing your materials in the first place and keeping them refreshed, right? You're going to have to constantly be updating them. And then I think sales is a big activity for you. So I would list those three.
Okay.
Yep. Okay? That makes sense to everybody? Understand her model and what she's trying to do? Good. Thank you. All right. Did I give you a T-shirt? Wear T-shirts? I don't know. All right. Business model canvas is the best way to do it. There's some other canvases around, other ways to think about this, not the only way. This book, the Lean Canvas from Ash Maurya, is another good way to think about your business model. Online tools. So we're going to discover that you're spending a lot of time updating your business model canvas. We'll talk about how you test it and how you revise it. It's something that changes a lot, so you might want some online tools. Strategizer and Canvanizer are good ways to do that online. All right. Now, last module. We're doing all right. Customer discovery. So you filled out your business model canvas. Here's what you have to know. What you wrote down was a series of hypotheses. Yeah? Hypotheses is a fancy pants word for guesses. They're probably really good guesses because you're smart folks, but they are just guesses. You have to be humble enough to accept that what you believe to be true might not be true. So all those things you wrote down on your canvas, I know you believe them, they might not be true. And if you're not humble enough to accept that, you're not going to be successful as an entrepreneur, right? So the trick is to get out and test those elements, to find out if they're true, and if they're not, to change them. So if you think your customer segment is moms who value high-quality food, and you find out that, in fact, it's not the moms, but it's the dads, then change that customer segment, right? If you think it's, yes?
Should this change whenever it's startup phase, or how problematic is it if you're changing up some of the segments of your business, like when you put it out in the market? Like say like you're offering a service and you're charging X amount of money, but then you change up like how much you're charging. Like how does the market usually take that, or how do people like react to it? Is that a bad move to do?
It is not a bad thing to do. It is an essential thing to do.
Okay.
So recognize that your canvas is going to change a lot, and that's okay. Every time you learn something that allows you to update the canvas, to revise the canvas, to take one of those hypotheses and say, you know, I've tested this now, and I believe this is not just a hypothesis. This is something that I've verified in the marketplace. It moves to a different category, not literally, but now it's a fact. Now it's something you're going to build around. Fact of the matter is, underneath them, you're going to dig a lot on these things, right? So, for example, you may think you know how to reach the target customers, right? Because they all go to certain websites, or there's an industry group that meets, once a year in Washington. You can go and meet all of them, and you may find out that as you start testing it, that just doesn't work. Right? That they don't use websites, that they read magazines, or they only want to be customers if your product or service is referred to them by somebody they know. Right? So you're going to be revising this stuff all the time. The trick is to do as much of it as you can before you put a lot of money into the business. But even after you do, even after you launch, you're going to be testing and revising all the time. Everybody with me? Okay. Thanks. All right. So, you have anything to sell yet? Not yet. All right. So, I'm doing a poor job with this. So here's your task. You want to take your current business model canvas and get out of the building and test it. And who do you test it with? real customers, but not just any customers, right? It's the people that you've identified in that customer segment. And that's why you want to be as specific as you can about them, right? Because you need to go find them. Now, if they're students, if your target customer segment is GW students who are majoring in chemistry, and then it's pretty easy, right? Then you just go over to SEH and you just wait in the lobby until they walk by and you can find them, right? If your customer segment is CIOs of Fortune 500 companies, they're a little harder to find, right? You're going to have to knock on some doors and make some calls. But again, you've got to get out and talk to those folks. And you got to talk to them in a couple of ways. You want to have open-ended questions that allow a conversation to flow. And I'll show you how to do that. You want to talk to them face to face. So your inclination might be, oh, I'll send them a survey, right? I'll send an email and ask them a bunch of questions. Face to face is very important. It's important for a couple of reasons. One is you want to be able to gauge their enthusiasm. Right? You want to be able to see their pupils dilate and their body language, because if they tell you that it's a good idea, but with low energy and it doesn't seem all that important, they might be saying yes, but it's kind of a lukewarm yes. And people aren't going to change what they're doing for a small increment of that. You want to find that thing that they think is really valuable, intensely valuable, and it gives them an emotional response. Very hard to get that from a survey. You want to see that face to face, right? Now, here's the other reason, is your hypotheses might be wrong by a lot, and you want to be able to discover the unexpected. So when you talk to them and you say, to these young suburban mothers who like healthy food, and you say, really, I have these very nice cuts of meat for you. They're organic. They're tasty. Is this something that you really want? And they say, I'm a vegetarian. I don't want any damn meat. I want nice, fresh vegetables. Right? So all the questions in the world about what are your needs for meat are not going to uncover that. And you might, at that point, be at a point where you're going to have to think hard about changing your business model in some important way. Either that's not your segment, or you don't have the right problem. And so instead of at a butcher shop, maybe you want to open a vegetable stand. I'm not recommending anything, but you want to be open to discovering that kind of surprise. And if you do, you say, wahoo, I really learned something, because I was about to go start a butcher shop. It was going to cost me a lot of money, and this particular customer segment doesn't want that. I'm making this up completely, you understand, right?
You're actually really, really close to the biggest issue of potentially.
Oh, all right, you're going to be the candidate for role play then. All right, but here's the point. When you discover that stuff in the vernacular, you want to be able to pivot. Pivot means making a major change in direction in what you're doing, right? Like in basketball, right? You pivot. Successful companies pivot at least 4 times before they get to the marketplace. So I don't know what you wrote on your paper for your business model, but I'm willing to bet a lot of my own money that it's wrong. And that's even in the face of the fact that I know how smart you are and how much you've been thinking about this, because it's true of everybody. Until you get out in that marketplace and test this out with real people, you don't have it right yet, and I know that. All right, quickly, how do you do it? You got to get interviews. You got to find these people. When you talk to them, when you approach them, you make it clear to them that you're looking for advice. You're not selling, right? You always play the GW card and the student card. People love to talk to GW students, especially alumni, and are happy to talk to you. So the approach is, I'm a student at GW. I've got an idea for a startup. I understand that you're an expert in this area. Would you mind taking a few minutes and talking to me about it? I'm telling you, you can call up any GW alumnus in the world, and 9 out of 10 of them will say, absolutely, happy to do it. Happy to do it, right? Use it to your advantage. If you want to talk to students, just go down to Kogan Plaza, right? I'm looking for students who major in economics and are juniors and above. I'm working on a project for school. You mind talking to me? Easy to do, right? go to conferences, right? They go to conferences. Sometimes it's tough, but you can get through the gatekeepers, right? If you call the president of General Motors, there's going to be some office assistant who speaks to you. You can say, look, I have a product that's really interesting. It's a self-inflating tire. I'm making this up, right? Who should I talk to in the company? A lot of times they'll make a reference to you. Oh, you need the product manager in tires is Fred. He's in Akron. Here's his number. You can get away with that, right? LinkedIn is a really good way to do it. Everybody on LinkedIn? If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Once you get on LinkedIn, link to me. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're doing interviews like this,
You got it. You asked for it. Here it comes.
I guess I should just move up. But when you're doing these interviews, how do you think about intellectual property and the concern about people taking your idea? And specifically, so I'm looking at an app in the food and wine industry, and there's people out there who, so obviously the people it makes sense to talk to are people in the food and wine industry.
Yes.
But for example, when I talk to other apps who might have the data I need, to some extent, wouldn't it make more sense just for them to build it themselves rather than to help me build mine? So how do you worry about who you're talking to, what information you're giving them? Does that make sense?
Tough call, tough issue. So 2 things I would tell you. One is you never want to talk about your technical intellectual property. So if you have algorithms or ways to search databases, talk about them in terms of capabilities. I'll take that. You want to throw that back over here? Heads up, incoming, beautiful, wow, a spiral, still perfect spiral, did you see that? So, and there's no reason you need to talk about your technology or how it works. I have a capability that does this. I have a system that allows you to find the right varietal from any wine in any country. If they say how, I don't want to talk about how. Talk about those capabilities. Nevertheless, you might have such a good idea that they would want to do it themselves. That's a tougher call. It has happened. It doesn't happen nearly as often as you think. And in fact, the risk of that happening is actually small, but to your point, devastating, right? If they take your company away from you, that would be bad, right? It doesn't happen very often. The risk of not sharing your idea and not getting feedback from, especially from knowledgeable people, is huge, right? So you almost don't want to give up the chance to talk to them about this stuff and get their feedback. Generally, if you're a small startup, you can move faster and be nimbler and get this on the market, and especially big companies are kind of like battleships. They're moving in a straight direction. They're not going to generally deviate to do what you want to do. Not impossible, but not likely. Yeah? So my advice in general is take the risk, go talk to them. Yes, sir?
So along those lines.
And she gets a T-shirt too, hang on. Whoa, T-shirt. Oh, not even close, not even close, sorry.
Along those lines, I've thought about putting my idea on maybe a crowdfunding site to try to build up capital, but every time I go to type in what my idea is, I get kind of hesitant and I just don't do it.
Take 1 minute and tell me your idea.
Well,
because I want to steal it. No, I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know if it's great or not, but I've had it. So I want to add solar-powered fans and heaters to camping gear, to 10x10 tents and to chairs, for tailgaters, for the mom and dads at the soccer games, for campers. And so I don't know how to, I have it in my mind how it works. I've been working with a gentleman to help me develop the solar-powered fans and the heaters, things of that nature.
So my advice to you is you have something that might be patentable. And you want to, before you do too much, especially publicly on websites, you should probably talk to a lawyer. Before I leave, I'll give you Peter. Peter Weissman is the IP lawyer, GW alum. He's happy to talk to GW students, faculty, staff. He'll give you an hour consulting for free. If I were you, I would go talk to him and get some kind of protection to that idea before you go too far with it. Okay. Might be the case for you too, by the way, in the wine business. Oop. All right. Okay, let's press on. So, here's the deal. When you find these folks, you talk to them about 3 things, and in this order: people, problems, and solutions. Repeat after me. People, problems, solutions. You got to do better than that. Come on. People, problems, and solutions. It is really important that you do them in that order. That's why I'm being silly about this. This is important. Here's the deal. You start off by talking to them about them. Right? So clearly you want to know if they're in your target segment, right? So at a minimum, you want to know if you're looking at companies that have more than 50 employees but less than 1,000. You're the HR manager. How many employees in your company? Do you fit in, right? But you want to know a whole lot more about them. Think of yourself. Remember, you're a startup, so you're searching, right? You want to know lots about them. It's like you're an anthropologist, right? You're studying people in exotic lands. You want to go talk to them. You want to know, who do they talk to? Where do they eat? Where do they live? Who are their friends? What websites do they go to? What magazines do they use? What do they do for fun, right? You want to get all of that information as much as you can. Why is that important? Because you're going to need that later on to hypothesize how you reach them, right? Remember, in our customer relations, we need to know how to get, keep, and hold customers. Well, you want to know what websites they go to, what movies they like, what magazines they read, where they hang out, because that's how you're going to get them in the first place, right? That's how you're going to reach them. So you start off with a conversation about them. As that conversation goes forward, remember, we're asking open-ended questions. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your job. What's important to your job? What do you do day to day? What kind of budget do you have, right? Open-ended, not yes, no questions. Get them talking. Eventually, you're going to move the conversation to the area of interest for you, which is next, which is problems, all right? So you gently guide into what are the biggest headaches in their company, right? So that's where you're going to go. What are the three, and there's good questions to ask. What are the top 3 challenges you have, right? What is frustrating, time expensive? What would you change right now, right? Or you can always ask the magic wand question, right? If I had a magic wand, what would you change today, right? And you may have to be more directive, right? So if it's students, you may want to say, well, so if you have an app for students to help them find things to do on a Saturday night, you might want to lead the conversation to, so we start with, okay, what do you do for fun? What's your social life? What do you do for entertainment? What do you do on a Saturday night, right? Are you having any problems with that? What's working? What are you using now? How do you find activities now? Does it work well? Is it causing any problems? What would you do to change that if you could have anything you wanted? Because now you're moving from them to their problem, right? Notice I haven't mentioned my idea or my solution at all, right? That has not come up yet. People, problems, and solutions. I'm still on problems, right? Now, what you're hoping for is that they will surface the problem that you think they have, and they'll tell you with real enthusiasm, yes, I've lived in Fairfax County all my life, and I can't get a decent piece of meat. My meat is all GMO. I hate the butcher shops here. I have to drive all the way to, McLean to get a decent pork chop. Well, I'm really out of my depth now, right? Can't you fix that for me? That's the kind of response you have, right? Now you've got an early adopter. You've got somebody who has a passion for your product or service, and it's not just a little bit. They really want it, right? So now you've latched onto something. So now, people, problems, we go on to solutions, right? One of the things you want to think about is how you test for price, right? So one of the things you're all going to grapple with is, right? So when you're talking about problems, how much do you currently spend on this? So how much do you spend each week on meat, you know? Well, how much do you spend for a pound of roast chuck? I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? But you get the idea, right? How much budget have you allocated? How much would you pay to have this problem go away, right? You know, I'm an HR manager, right? And I have, my employees are inefficient. They don't work well together in teams. I'm looking for some kind of help to make them more efficient, make them more effective, right? How much would you pay to make that problem go away, right? Because you're going to price on, yes, sir.
I'm curious how if the person you're talking to, how willing they would be to discuss this kind of stuff, because it seems like a lot of this is proprietary and they may not want to, I mean, even if you explaining the student card and everything like that, you know, this seems like very, you know.
Might be. In general, if the framing of the meeting is very important, right? So it's got to be crystal clear that you're not trying to sell them something, that you're not a competitor of theirs, and again, the student card is the best way to go. They might not want to talk about it. It's quite possible. Generally, they do. Generally, they like the idea that you might be working on a solution to this, that you might be willing to put your creative talents on finding a solution that they could make use of. Is that helpful? Do you want to do a quick case study? What's your
Yeah, sure. Well, my product is a consulting service or liaison to, you know, my big segment, customer segment would be sports teams, but really you can use civic organizations, anywhere where you get a big crowd. And I want you to think NFL football games and the large flags that they have on the field.
segments have to be people? Who's the person?
Basically like the marketing director of a sports team.
Okay,
Major League, minor league, NASCAR, PGA, whatever. This liaison service will connect the sports team and the military / law enforcement / firefighters, and you know, and they'll be like the liaison service. So they may have someone in their organization that does that, working in the marketing department, and then they just pay us a consulting fee per season, and we'll handle all the coordination all season for that product, or for putting them on the field.
Right. So if you ask them questions like, how much do you spend on that now? They might not want to tell you.
Yeah.
Right. But think about some other ways, like how much time do you spend on this, right? How big a problem is this? They say, is this in the top 3 problems you have? They say no, you know, it's number 27 on my list. That's not so good. There are other ways to sneak up around it. What you really want to get a sense of, is this a real problem that they have? Is this a top problem that they really feel in some important way? If they don't want to share specifics about pricing and costs, well, then you have to go out a different way. Yeah? Perfect. All right. Okay. People, problem, and solutions. Did I give you a T-shirt? Now you're ready to introduce your solution. Now it's when you can start to talk about, you found a problem, you understand their problem, now you can start conceptually. Would it be useful to you to have a product that has this capability? Again, you're not revealing your underlying technology. Another good way to do it is to use something called a minimum viable product. You can create a mock-up, you can create some screenshots, you can create something that looks something cheap and expensive. It doesn't have to be working, that shows some of the functionality. Again, it's a way to test that need. Might this work for you? Is this something that would be useful? What if you had something like that? Get them talking. You know what you know. You want to know what they know. Get them talking. You're not selling. You're just talking to them about some capabilities, some hypothetical capabilities, to see if they then say, yes, that would fix my problem. That's the solution, right? And you know you've really got it when they say, when can I get it? I need this now. I've got a meeting on Tuesday, and I'd like to bring that into the meeting. Do you have that ready for me now? Sometimes when you find that right solution to that problem, they'll pay you. They'll pay you to build it. They'll help you to put it in place in the first place. So looking for that problem solution fit, that's the key here. Okay. Now, if things go really well, you can push them a little bit. You can push them onto commitment and advancement. You can ask them things like, would you be willing to spend some time talking to me more about this? Would you be willing to pay some money to help me build a prototype? If they really want it, you can get them to give up something valuable. Would you be willing to introduce me to other colleagues in your company, right? Because that's reputation, right? They're not going to send you to. That's a way of testing how much their commitment is. Sometimes yes means no, right? So you want to think about pushing them a little bit. Or advancement, right? Can we have another meeting? What would be the follow-on step then? Can I bring you a sample of the product on Tuesday to try? So think about, if it's going really well, how you can push them to demonstrate their commitment and willingness to go a little closer to a sale. All right. Finally, some other tips. Go in prepared, right? You want to know who you're talking to them, Google them in advance. You got to have your questions laid out. You want to know what elements of your business model canvas you're testing. Right? You're going in this meeting to test the elements of your canvas, know which ones you want to nail down at that meeting. But you want to keep it casual. Don't make it so structured that it's stilted, right? It's got to flow. Look for patterns. How many, you haven't asked yet, but you're going to. How many interviews do I need to do? You need to do a lot, maybe 100. But more important, when you start to see patterns emerging, when you start to get that same answer over and over again, you start to see that people in this demographic, in this target segment, have that same problem and it recurs over and over again. That's when you've done enough. That's when you're starting to see it, right? It's good if you can go in teams of 2. It's nice to have somebody who's taking notes and somebody who's asking the questions. It's hard to do this by yourself, right? Interview 1 customer at a time. Do not do a focus group. Don't get groupthink. You don't want people influenced by who else is in the group, right? The loudest person, the most aggressive person is going to dominate. People will be shy about telling you what they really think, especially if it disagrees with somebody else, right? And you want to hear that disagreement. 1 customer at a time. It's not useful to ask them their opinions of the future. They are not going to design your product for you. Instead, ask them about behavior in the past. So if they tell you, I really like fresh-grown vegetables. I like vegetables that come out of the garden this morning because I only eat healthy food. Okay, what did you have for dinner last night? And if it turns out that it's a kale salad, then maybe you believe them. If they tell you it was pizza, then maybe you don't believe them, right? Because they can be really accurate about what they did, the behaviors they did in the past. When you ask them to project into the future, they mostly give you answers about how virtuous they are. You with me on this concept? Ask them about behaviors in the past that tell you about their problems and your solution. Don't ask them to design your product for you or think about what they will do in the future. Really important. Finally, there's 2 good questions. Steve Blank says you always finish with the question, what should I have asked you? Is there any other question that I should have asked that I didn't ask? That's a good one, really open-ended. That's how you find the unexpected. The question I like to finish with is, can you recommend 2 other people I should talk to? Right? It's hard to get these interviews, especially if you're doing a B2B, right? If you're looking for, so ask them to help you get 2 more interviews, right? And then powers of 2. The next thing you know, you got 1,028 interviews, right? You with me? Okay. Good interviews. So if you want to see this stuff online, there's Steve's custom development checklist. There's a nice video on getting out of the building. Good ways to capture customer data, how to keep track of it. These are good references for you. A really good book, Talking to Humans. In fact, I have, this is probably the single best book on how to interview human beings. Who would like a copy? Oh, geez, too many. All right, you guys who ask questions, I guess, get them. I should have brought more. Jasmine, we don't have any more sitting around, do we? I told you to sit in the front row. All right. I have more. Another really good one is the mom test. This is talking to customers in a way that your mom would understand. Yes, sir.
You should note that book that just was handed out is free online and PDF.
Yes.
So go check it out.
What's that?
It's so much less special.
Yeah. Yes, but you can download it online in a PDF. It's only about 80 pages. Very nice book. Yeah, thank you, Jim. All right. Boy, we got 10 minutes left. Would you rather do Q&A or a quick role play? Role play?
What's role play?
Role play is when you pretend to do a customer interview. Let's do role play. Come on. I need 2 volunteers. Come on up. Come on up. Don't hesitate. We only got 10 minutes. We want to be out by 7. All right. Tell us again your product or service. Oh, sorry, I didn't get the vote.
So my service is a consulting service for chronic disease patients.
Okay. So you're ready to be, you want to be the customer? Who's your target customer?
So my target customer are patients who have, say, Lyme disease, diabetes, or any type of chronic disease that affects their health, like throughout
Okay, and your value proposition is?
So my value proposition is around, well, I was wanting to do like maybe hourly or doing some type of a yearly subscription.
No, that's revenue. I want to know what's the value to your customer?
Oh.
Why do they want this?
So the value to my customer is that it's very costly to have a chronic disease, and it's almost thousands and thousands of dollars a year to deal with a chronic disease. And so basically this service is offering a way to help your life and
Okay,
to,
all right. You have Lyme disease, but it's under control and you don't think it's a big problem. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right, everybody got the premise here? So she's going to be a difficult customer, right? Because she doesn't buy into the value proposition. But it's just a role play. All right? So start. First opening line is?
very nice to meet you. I'm Elizabeth.
I'm Samira. Nice to meet you.
So I heard that you do have Lyme disease, but it's not so.
Back up. Sorry. Freeze.
So do
Freeze
I not
frame.
know anything about them, or?
Yeah, you're just introducing yourself. So
Okay.
start with, I'm a GW student.
Okay. Well, I'm a Nova student, but I'll play the GW card right now.
Please.
I go to GW, and I just wanted to have an interview with you. Is that how you're going to start? I just wanted to know about how life is with Lyme disease for you. And I just wanted to ask you a few questions, if that's okay with you. You're more than welcome to not answer anything, or if something is uncomfortable, please feel free to not answer anything. But
Yeah, so this stop for 1 second, Elizabeth. So this is a special case, right? Because she's going to talk about personal things and data about health, and so she's got concerns about the questions she might ask and is it appropriate, and let's not get anybody into trouble here, right? So most of you won't have that problem. Start out with people.
Okay.
Remember?
People,
Problems.
and then solution.
Okay, you're on people now.
Yes.
Go.
So, so should I just ask her questions about how she her life?
Ask questions about her.
Okay. So what do you do? What are some of the concerns you have with Lyme disease on a day-to-day basis, or how does it affect your life?
Stop.
Oh.
Who wants to offer some advice here? Sir.
That's problems, right?
Yeah, too soon.
Okay.
Anybody else?
It's almost too direct, so you're already forcing her answer versus being a very open.
Right. Okay.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So are you a
And
student?
then give her the cash box.
Okay. Okay, let me ask the question and then we'll do it. So are you a student, or what do you do for a living?
No.
Oh, wait, no.
Tell me a little bit
Tell me
about
a little
yourself.
bit about yourself. Excuse me.
Don't keep your thumb off the scale as long as you can. Eventually, you're going to want to move that way. So you're just going too soon.
Well, I'm a student. I love gardening. I love to cook as well. Reading is quite cliche. I like to read. I'm a bit nosy, so I like to know a lot about people. I really enjoy life in general. Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. What type of flowers or vegetables do you garden? Or is there anything specific that you enjoy growing?
Again,
I don't garden.
more open-ended questions. What do
Okay.
you do for fun?
Okay.
It's interesting that you garden. Tell me more about what you do in your spare time. What's your job? Open-ended, just learn about her as a person.
Sure. So what do you usually do for fun?
For fun, I like to just kind of goof around with my siblings. I actually really like doing that. I like to kind of ask my dad a lot about his childhood, what he used to do, because he's pretty cool in my opinion. Again, with the nosy thing, so that's kind of
Good. That's good. So Now, let's try to move it along now a little bit, because we do want to get to issues, not problems, but just issues about in the health space. Kind of ease her into that domain that you really want to talk about, right? So let's get an open-ended question about health.
Sure. So, even with what you do day to day, is there anything that is problematic with your health issues, or is there something that you wish could be better, or you wish you could be
Let me help. So you want to reflect back some of what she told you. So I hear you're gardening. Sounds like you're an outdoors person. You look like you have a very healthy lifestyle. Are you into health?
I wouldn't say I actively pursue it, but I enjoy some things which just happen to be healthy, I guess.
So how is your health overall?
I mean, it could be better, I wish I could spend those extra few minutes with certain like gardening things. I wish I could be as active as I would want to with my siblings.
Good, that's an opening. What's keeping you from being more active? And recognize now we're moving from people into problems, right? Now we're crossing that boundary, because she's given us the opening. With me? Okay.
Just the shortness of breath, the nausea, like the just, and then.
So, in the interest of time, give it up. Tell her that you have Lyme disease.
I do actually have Lyme disease.
Now, we're in problems. So where do you go? Where do you go next? Any idea?
solution?
Not yet. Not yet. I want to know about her problems.
Okay.
How big a problem is it? How does she deal with it? How much time does it spend? What does she wish it would go away? How much is she willing to spend on your solution?
Yes.
So go ahead. Ask her an open-ended question.
So, how much does this issue affect you on a day-to-day basis, and what have you done?
Less than that. More open-ended.
Okay.
You are so driven.
I'm sorry, I'm so type A, it's ridiculous.
That's okay. That's okay. But learning these techniques is important, because
Right.
everybody here is the same. So tell me about Lyme disease. Tell me, what's that like? Tell me about how that affects your life. And then let her talk. Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, it just really gets in the way of a lot of things. I can't walk for as long distances I'd want to walk. Just as I said, running around the park with my siblings, just feeling older than you actually are, and a lot more limited than people your age. Just wishing I could do a lot of the things people my age
Excellent.
get to do.
Don't listen. But I'm actually doing okay. I've gotten used to it.
But you know what? I'm doing really well. Like I'm doing good. A lot of people are worse off. So.
All right, let's push it along now, right? You found a problem. She's told you about it. Now, introduce your solution. Gently, open-ended. What if?
So, I know that you feel a lot better about, it's not so severe to you, but what if you could find that optimal feeling that you can just do everything how you did once before you got sick? Like do you miss those days where you could just go out all day and your life doesn't it's not a problem for you, like say mid gardening where you want to stay out more but you're tired because of Lyme symptoms? Do you wish you're kind of like how you were before?
Freeze. What's wrong with that?
Yes or no?
Yes, no question. And you are talking. I want her to talk, right? So, what are you doing to cope with your Lyme disease?
You had, at the beginning, you had like a really good good opening. I don't remember the exact wording you had, and you got to a point where it was like that should have been the end, and then you tagged on yes or no. But it was your opening was like really strong.
How does she solve the problem? That's what that you'd like to know what her current solution is.
I have to obviously take a step back from what I'm doing, take the medication, wait a while, and do less physically demanding things, which puts like a damper on my day, you know. Don't feel as accomplished. But again, I have a really fortunate life. Like, I wouldn't say anything in particular is missing. So.
Okay. So now is a good time to introduce your solution more, right? Would it be useful to you if you had a system that did this? If you had a counselor who, I mean.
Firstly, I'm so sorry to hear about that. And I know exactly how that feels. I've suffered with a chronic disease for a while in my life, and it really impacted me. And I just wanted to know if in fact you were looking to maybe get that extra gain in life, and so that you can be that optimal version of yourself, or are you happy with where your life is right now?
Close. It's yes or no. Yes, go ahead.
Because you said something to her which I feel like relates to pretty much everyone. You said, but at the moment she's okay, she doesn't feel like anything's missing, which is why I kept kind of going back to, but nothing's missing. Even though your service or, you know, what it is really necessary, and you can see how much it would affect them, there might be, you know, the people you want to target, they're doing, you know, what they see as relatively well, and they don't, you know, because it might take an effort to kind of be like, yeah, I'll accept this service from you. So how do you go, you know, and try and convince people who, you know, they would really benefit from it, but they might not see that they need it, you know, like.
Yes. So they might not see the benefit of it right away.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why you have to follow the people, problem, solution, right? What you really want to understand is the problem, okay, and the magnitude of the problem and how big a deal it is to them. Because you're right, they sometimes don't see the solution as a fit to the problem. But understanding the problem is what the main accomplishment is of this, all right?
Okay.
Is that helping? Mm-hmm. All right, let's close. We're over our time. Give her a one-sentence description of your solution and get her feedback and gauge her intensity of the problem-solution fit. You with me? Mm-hmm. So use the box.
So how would you feel being with a community of people who do suffer with chronic diseases, and you can get consulting services to ensure that you get your optimal health and you can function on a day-to-day basis without so much impairments due to Lyme disease?
Yeah, you know, when you put it that way, it would be nice to talk to other people who, go through the same issues. It would make me feel like I'm not alone in this. So yeah, like a community of people would be really helpful.
Great. All right, we are out of time. Thank you to our actors. Academy Award winning performances. Nicely done, nicely done. Especially to role play the customer is very tough. You did a nice job. All right, team, we are out of time. Anybody have some burning last questions? Anybody who didn't get a T-shirt? Did you get one? I have 2 more books. Value proposition. Did you get a book? You didn't get a book the first time. You only get. Give it back. I'll trade you.
Can I get that one?
I'll trade you. Anybody want to move down market on the books? Sir?